Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is a paid request for Mike, OSP Communications. Thank you so much. And for those interested, requesting any type of videos, random thoughts, streams, commentaries, video game playthrough for an hour, or full playthrough, tier list rankings, reactions, random thoughts, whatever the case may be, movie review, re-review, feel free to send it. PayPal's the best way to do it. Do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in the info box. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. For those who sent them, thank you. I do appreciate it. And this is for Cheech and Chong's last movie. Now, I know places say 2024. I'm calling it 2025 because I don't care if it was in one festival or such. Most people that see this, and it was most places released, was this year. So I'm doing it for the sake of argument. But yeah, Cheech and Chong's last movie, which is more like a documentary. That's really what it is. Once in a while, you have Cheech and Chong driving on a road, and then they talk a little bit, but then it's mostly going through their life. How they started, their backgrounds, how they were as kids, leading up to how they met, their stand-up, success, getting into movies, and eventually kind of what broke them apart for a bit. Now, if you're a Cheech and Chong fan like me, this was fun. I liked it. Granted, this year has not been that great for movies or other stuff, but this would be one of my favorites of the year. It was heartfelt at times. It was funny at times. I think there's a nice wealth of information. I do think there's more they could have gotten out of this, though. I will say that. I do have some nitpicks and issues with it. But overall, I like it as a fan. But there are flaws. But it was fun. It's about 2 hours long. And I guess that says a lot that even after 2 hours, I'm still going, I want more. Well, it depends. That could be bad or a good thing. Good as in, it was fascinating, it wasn't boring, it was entertaining, I wanted more. But also, on the flip side, I still think there's stuff they could have delved into that they didn't, and I wish they did. But before I start, I am a big Cheech and Chong fan. I know I've never smoked weed in my life. I know some people assume I do. Never have one time. Just was never an option. And then as I got older, it just was never a desire I had. But funny enough, I love a lot of movies, pop movies. Harold and Kumar, Go to White Castle. All three of them I like. I know there's talks of a fourth film. We'll see. And Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke is literally one of my favorite films of all time. I love Next Movie as well. I liked a lot of those movies. You know what? This made me want to badly go back and rewatch all of those Cheech and Chong films. Now, I'm not going to, because the paid requests come first, and I'm very, very busy with those. But it's definitely on my list of films I do want to rewatch someday. Because Up in Smoke, it's just hilarious. So many bits I find funny in that. Next Movie, I think, is almost as good as Up in Smoke. Then I think it's Nice Dreams, which I was disappointed in that. That was okay. I could watch it, but I thought it was a step down from the first two. I think it's Things Are Tough All Over. That's one of those films I forget about. And I have, like, memories here and there of, like, little bits that kind of were like skits, and Cheech and Chong kind of like playing different characters. Or am I getting that confused with Still Smoking? I know Still Smoking they did it, but yeah, because you had like the Arab rich guys, and they're going after Cheech and Chong, and something about this vehicle that they're driving, and that's definitely one I would like to rewatch sometime. And Still Smoking, which kind of like them doing a lot of their old stand-up bits and putting that into the movie as Cheech and Chong goes to Amsterdam. I remember having fun with that one. I do remember having fun. The Corsadian Brothers I never saw. And then they went on to do their own kind of solo films. But yeah, this was really cool. I mean, it was great to see these guys again, being a big fan of them. It's cool to see that they made up and they're touring again, and they've been together quite a few years now. Which is one of the things I thought was very, very gravely missing from this, which yeah, I'll get to that later as it pertains to the end of the documentary. Does that sound call this? It's a they're little snippets like they film, but it's more of a documentary. So the wraparound is they're in the desert and they're looking for the joint, and a guy named Dave told them something was out here and there's a sign. And granted, these segments don't really do a whole lot, to be fair, because it's kind of like they say like one or two words, then it goes back to the documentary. Then it goes back and they say like maybe 3 or 4 more words. They go back to the documentary. And I was hoping like these segments would be like a lot of funny stuff and laughs, and not really. Again, they just say like a couple things, then go back, and I expected more out of those segments with them driving. I expect a lot more chuckles and laughs out of. But the documentary portion is where it shines. There's a lot of interview footage from back to the day. Old shows of Geraldo and all other interviews. What was that girl, Bobby? There's a lot of old clips of interviews. And he's like, are you a one joke team? Oh no, we're a 2 joke team. And there's an interview they did with Playboy, and a lot of old interview clips, which I had never seen before. So being a big fan, it was cool to see all this stuff. Like all this stuff uncovered. That was very cool. That was very well edited. So it's a 2-hour running time. I never felt the running time. In fact, I wanted more. So a lot of cool old interview clips, and then new interviews with Tommy Chong and Cheech Marin, of course. And they talk about where they grew up. Tommy Chong, his dad was Chinese. He was half Chinese. He got TB, a spot in his lung when he was a kid. He was ostracized because he was half Chinese. And he talks about his experience in Canada. Meanwhile, Cheech Marin talks about how growing up in South Central, he saw like 3 murders by the time he was 7. His dad was a cop. How him and his dad butted heads. And there's some funny stuff in this too, though, where they'll do like flashbacks. Not flash, but they'll tell a story, but then they'll show the story via a cartoon. I know that YouTube channel Hot Ones, once in a while they do this. Like if someone tells a story, they'll show the story like a cartoon form. And I like this. Like Cheech tells a story about how his buddy's mom did Bobo Brazil's laundry. Bobo Brazil was a wrestler back in the day. And I thought that stuff was funny. And then it goes into like Tommy getting to playing the blues and how he met his first wife, getting the music, forming different bands. While Cheech was going into Catholic school to be a priest, and how I'm not sure if that would be the case. And there's a funny bit where he got into college and some woman's like, hey, why don't you keep this pottery? He's like, okay. And then Cheech goes, when I see this, it seems like my recessive pottery gene kicked in. Hey, Vato, will you bid? And before I go on with spoilers, again, I'll say this. It's 2 hours long. It's very, very well edited. Again, a lot of old footage with new interviews of Cheech and Chong. Lou Adler, who was their original manager, who helped a lot with their stand-up and their record, he pops in. Tommy Chong's wife of many decades, she has an appearance. Not a whole lot of other appearances, Sally, from other people that worked with them. Sorry, damn sneeze, I kept going. Sorry, I apologize. The suspense. they do, like I said, they talk about how they met, how they came up with the name Cheech and Chong, how that's going to be the monitor, how successful their stand-up was, how they went into records, albums, how they came up with the Dave, that skit, Dave's Not Here, how they came up with that. That's a funny story. The first movie, they talk a bit of the second film. They do mention some of the other films. I do think when they got into, from Cheech and Chong's next movie onward, I did feel they kind of rushed it. Because, like I said, it's 2 hours. It gets about 90 minutes before we get to, like, next movie. And now, here's, like, 30 minutes, and we mentioned Nice Dreams. We mentioned Corstian Brothers and all this stuff. And they more mention about kind of their feelings they had towards each other and the making of these films. So, sadly, it does not go in depth. I wish it went more in depth in the making of some of these movies. Like, next movie, oh, this is how we came up with this bit, or that's how we came up with that scene, or that's how we thought of this bit, or say with, like, Nice Dreams. Okay, well, we thought this movie would be the last, or maybe we thought this movie, we want to put our stand-up in because of this reason. I wanted more information of that on those movies, and we really didn't. I mean, really all we got was how they were thinking of each other in that time frame. So I wish there was a lot more of, this is the experiences and how we made this movie and this movie and this movie. Because it's not like they made 20 movies. You know, they made 1, 2, Nice Dreams, Things to For, Still Smoking. I mean, the course, that's 6 movies. I think for 6 movies, you should go a bit more in depth on each of the movies. I feel you can. And considering this may be the last time they're ever featured in a documentary, a movie, whatever, I think that'd be pertinent. Now, I don't know if there was stuff cut out. This is not, there's no Blu-ray for this. I don't know if there will be a physical release for this. Because if there's deleted scenes that goes in depth into this stuff, that'd be cool to see, and I'd pick it up. But if not, then I don't know what to tell you, but I wish more in-depth was in that stuff. Also, what I didn't like was, like, the ending was sweet, but it kind of ends with Cheech doing Born in East LA. Then it seems like they kind of split. And then in modern time, they kind of have, like, talk and, hey, you know, that stuff's in the past. And it's like a nice heartfelt scene, and then they find a place they went to and they go there. But I'm sitting there going, there's a lot of information missing. Like, why don't you explore Tommy Chong's solo career, what he did after? And Cheech Marin. Okay, Born in East LA, how did that lead to you doing From Dusk Till Dawn, Desperado, Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino? Like, how did it lead to that stuff? Tin Cup with Kevin Costner, that was a hit film. That was a popular, well, at the time, a good film. Why don't we go into that and doing Nash Bridges? And Tommy Chong was with Cheech on Nash Bridges on an episode or so. Like, you could talk about that stuff. Tommy Chong doing Far Out Man. Granted, it's a shitty movie. And all, you know, how does Cheech feel when Tommy Chong was arrested because of that whole thing with the bonds? Like, which the news of it is briefly mentioned in the end credits, but, like, what was Cheech Marin's reaction? Was he sad? Was he laughing? He's like, oh, that figures. Like, did Cheech's reaction to that? How did they get back together? How did the reunion take place? How has the reunion been so far? That's an important part that is missing, and I don't understand that. Granted, it's 2 hours, so maybe they felt, you know, if it's longer, it'd be too extraneous. But I mean, if there's an extended cut, I want to see it. Because it feels like it spends a lot of time building up from kids to the stand up, and their meeting. I'm like, okay, it's cool they're taking a lot of time for this. I'm getting a lot of information. But I'm looking at the running time and I'm like, I'm getting more worried because the longer it goes, that means the stuff I know about, the movies, and there's going to be a lot less time for that. And there was. And that is, I would say, that and the fact of when they're in the car, other than the few funny moments, like Tommy giving him Cheech shit. Come on, Cheech. How come you don't have a mustache? Really? You won't grow your mustache back? Come on, dude. Come on, man. You gotta grow your mustache back. But yeah, I felt a lot more could have been done with those. But again, the reason I do like it is because, especially from when they started up until Up in Smoke, you get a lot of information. That's why I feel like I wish there was a sequel from Up in Smoke next movie onward, and really like take 2 hours for that. I would see it. There's a lot you could really delve into each of those movies, and then their solo careers, and then the reunion. And Sally, we don't get that. That's my big complaint about it. But again, before that, there's a lot of cool information, a lot of funny moments, a lot of interesting moments. Cheech talks about how he went to Canada, the draft was going on. Tommy Chong about some of the bands he went through. Cheech talks about how Vancouver was like a hippie place at that time. How he met Chong. Cheech said he was this writer, and he wrote an article that was like an interview with Richard Pryor, apparently. And he was, as his writer, he went to this improv group, and Tommy Chong had it, and how Cheech went into it, and how this is an improv group at a topless bar. And Cheech is like, they had a mime in a strip club. Tommy Chong tells about how he got hey man, he got that from this guy he knew called Strawberry. And the animation is funny about this homeless acid doing Strawberry, and how he worked for them to work the lights, but sometimes when they were finished and the lights were supposed to go off, it didn't. And then Tommy's like, Cheech would say, Strawberry, goddamn it, Strawberry. Strawberry, cut the lights. They talk about how the whole improv group broke up and it was just the two of them. And it's like, hey, we could be a team. How do we name ourselves? Hey, how about, Dick and Chong, or Chong and Dick? Because his first name is Richard Marin. And Tommy's like, well, is there anything, like any nicknames you had? Well, yeah, when I was a baby, I was called Cheech, which stands for, I forget the term. It's like a deep fried pig skin, like a Mexican potato chip. Oh yeah, Cheech and Chong. It's like music, it flows. They went to LA. By this point, Tommy had gone away from his first wife and he married his second and current wife. But he stayed at the first wife's couch. Actually, Cheech was on the couch, which that's probably how Up in Smoke, that opening came about. When he wakes up and he steps in the cereal, that's because he slept on Tommy's ex's couch, living there when they were first in LA and stand up. They talk about meeting Lou Adler. They talk about how Dave recording the album, how it was like 110 degrees and Cheech needed in, but he's doing the skit. And this was like done out of the blue, where it's like, it's me, Dave, open up. And then Tommy said, who is it? And Cheech is talking about, he's not supposed to say that. So, but he had to go along with it because it's part of the, just keep going like improv. It's me, Dave. Open up the stuff. Dave? Dave's not here. No, I'm Dave, man. And about how Cheech went in and he was really pissed off. And I've been out there 100-degree. Hey, listen to this. And it was funny. And then they did it. And they released it. And it was successful. They talk about how they came up with the Basketball Jones skit. Apparently, they were riding with Jack Nicholson, who was driving, and Jack was driving all crazy. And so there was another song, something Jones, Mr. Jones, or Love Jones or something. So since Cheech was being steered by Jack Nicholson's driving, he just kept thinking of, oh, Basketball Jones, yeah, Basketball Jones. Makes sense because Jack's a big fan of basketball anyway, so that's probably why it came to mind. They talk about comedy touring, and they talk about Up in Smoke. How the film was successful. They find out with the contract they had, they only did 10% of the gross. There's a lot of legalities, and how they kind of were not doing another film because, wait a minute, like, we only did 10% of the gross. What the fuck? This guy, Howard Brown, who they call like a Jewish gangster, he got them out of the contract and then got them to do movies with Universal and another company, I forget. And then you had Cheech and Chong's next movie and Nice Dreams. So Cheech and Chong's next movie, Tommy Chong wanted to be the director, since they had like Cheech and Chong had little back and forth with Lou Adler for the first movie. You do get to see behind the scenes footage of Nice Dreams. That was really cool to see. And then you start to see kind of the schism. And to be honest, in my eyes, the way it's edited, it makes Tommy Chong look bad. To me. Where... And really, like, Tommy Chong, he kind of did it himself. Where, like, Cheech... He wanted more say in it, and Tommy Chong's like, no, this is what we're going to do, because I'm the director. And there are times, even when they're talking in the car, where I would hear what Tommy Chong is saying, I go, I'm kind of on Cheech's side on this, really. Because it's Cheech and Chong, they're a duo, they write stuff together, and then, Tommy Chong is like, well, yeah, Cheech writes for Cheech. And then Cheech is like, oh, you're saying I didn't write as much on this movie as you did? No. Oh, okay, that's funny how we remember different things. And you tell, like, even when they're driving the car, like, that stuff is still in the back of their heads. It was interesting to see, I'll say that. Very interesting to see. And, like, each one, like, Cheech thinks it was Tommy Chong's ego rising up. Tommy is like, okay, well, this guy, he doesn't understand, like, in these movies, I'm making him the star, but I'm the director. But I don't know, just certain ways that Tommy Chong would say, like, okay, Cheech wanted more input, and he'd go, no, it's my way. I'm like, well, if that's the way it was, then I could see Cheech's viewpoint more than Tommy's. I don't know. And this is where they kind of go through quickly, like, next movie, which was a hit. Things are tough over. The editor became the director, but really Tommy Chong was the director. So there was really no difference. And I wish they delved more into, like, the making of these films and the specific details. And, like, Cassandra Peterson worked on a few of those films, who played Elvira. Paul Rubens was in a couple of those films. How was it with him? How did he get involved? Sadly, Paul Rubens passed away. But let's talk about that stuff. Why are we bypassing this stuff? The Corsican brothers. Cheech wanted to do a different type of movie. Not just another drug movie. But Tommy Chong became a director, and then it's interesting how they talk, and they both have different memories of it. Like, Cheech says that Tommy, like, took control and took all the control away from him. And then Tommy Chong's like, wow, it's so crazy how, people have two completely different memories. That was also a time where Cheech Marin's marriage was crumbling. And then, Corsican brothers did not do well. And now that I think about it, they did not talk about Nice Dreams. Still Smoking. I just realized that. They don't talk a whole lot about Still Smoking. Like, none at all. Now that I think about it, like, they might have showed footage, but yeah, they didn't really talk about that. Which I thought was frustrating, because I do remember liking that film. That's what I mean. Like, this is where it felt as if the crunch time of they spent so long on the first part, and now they're just trying to like rush through it. This is again the issue I have with it. That's why it's good, but it could have been better. But this is interesting about how Cheech, the Born in East LA song, him getting the movie. Now apparently, Cheech was in the music video for Born in East LA. Wanted Tommy Chong to play the cop. And then like they're in the car arguing, and Tommy Chong goes, "Chong don't do bit parts." And I'm sitting there going, and you got me to and a cop, man? Dude, really? Like, you want me to play a bit part and also a cop? And I'm sitting there going, okay, so this is a music video and you don't want to do a bit part. And yet, and then Born in East LA, the movie is made, and I'm assuming they said no to Tommy Chong because we don't want to be a Cheech and Chong movie, we just want to be a Cheech movie. But if Tommy Chong was not willing to do the music video, I doubt he'd be willing to do the movie. But then when Tommy did Far Out Man, which is never mentioned in this movie, by the way, who did a bit part? Cheech Marin. So again, that's what I mean, like, I think it makes Cheech look better than Chong. I'll say that, at least the way it's done here. That was very, if that's how he is, no wonder Cheech says he had a bit of ego. Chong don't do bit parts. I'm like, there's plenty of movies you did bit parts in. What are you talking about? I mean, hell, you both did bit parts in After Hours. Which that's never mentioned. Like, why isn't that mentioned? I'd love to know how the hell that came about. How did you get an After Hours, a Martin Scorsese film? How is that not mentioned? That's what I mean. There's a lot more that could have been done with this. I mean, that's a Scorsese film. How did you get an After Hours? But again, like Cheech Marin did a bit part for you in Far Out Man. So, I don't know. And then it kind of ends there, and then it goes back to them driving. Then they realize, of course, they're not really driving. They're being pulled by, one of those vehicles. And they say, hey, that's all in the past. And they shake hands. And there's like a nice little heart-filled moment. They find the place they're looking for. They go in. The end credits go. And then it shows kind of random spouts in their later career. A reference on The Simpsons, things of that nature. Cheech Marin was in Cars. Tommy Chong was in Zootopia. Things like that. But again, it just felt like, what about you guys are separated? What was your solo careers? You getting together? What sparked that? How was it? Is it stronger than ever? Like, I don't know why you would leave that part out. I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense to me. So, start off really strong. Really, really enjoying it. The third act I thought was rushed. It was cool to see stuff and get an inkling of kind of the breakdown of communication between these two. But then to not see the reunion, the resurrection of this team, touring again, I don't understand that. I thought that was an important part of the story. I don't know, whoever made the documentary, I don't know. They'll never see this, but if you ever do, you let me know what the hell happened, or was there more shot, or well, this is the plan all along. But with that said, I still liked it. If you're a fan of these guys, it's definitely worth a look. I just wish it had a lot more dotting the I's and crossing the T's, if that makes sense. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, everyone, and we will see you in the next video. But like I said, it does maybe want to go rewatch those films. I really want to rewatch those Cheech and Chong films sometime. Maybe one day down the road, but we'll see. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.